Have you ever felt that your own life has become a borrowed suit, as if the parts you play each day are no longer authentic? Have you found that the daily chatter, the professional ambitions, the social rituals that once mattered now seem hollow and unfulfilling? This feeling is not a sign of being broken. It is a sign of waking up. And awakening begins with a quiet dissolution, not with dramatic acts or sudden revelations, but with a gradual, certain shedding of all that is inauthentic. Carl Jung dedicated his life to mapping this inner journey. What he found is that real spiritual maturation isn't about gaining more knowledge or spiritual accolades. It's about letting go. Gently, persistently, and without fanfare, you start releasing the things that once formed your identity. Today, we're going to delve into the 5 things spiritually awakening individuals naturally leave behind as their transformation deepens. These aren't intellectual decisions. They are changes that emerge from your core, an internal compass reorienting you away from what no longer serves you. And be sure to watch until the very end, as the 5th point is the one that catches most people by surprise, and the one that ultimately liberates them. Before we begin, remember to subscribe to the Mental Dose channel and join our Telegram community, where you'll receive early notifications for new videos and insights into personal and spiritual development. Now, let's begin. 1. The craving for validation. The first thing to fall away is the insatiable thirst for validation. For much of their lives, many people exist on a stage, shaping every action and every opinion to earn applause. But as awakening takes hold, something changes. Validation, which once felt like a life-giving nectar, begins to taste like a toxin. It's as though your soul develops a rejection of it. What once brought you security now makes you feel agitated, even dishonest. Jung saw this in many of his clients. The son who had built his life on his father's approval suddenly found he could no longer seek it. The artist who lived for critical acclaim realized she didn't need it anymore. This isn't an act of defiance. It is a sign of spiritual evolution. When your true self emerges, it understands its inherent wholeness. Like a plant that has grown deep roots to find its own nourishment, it no longer depends on the weather for its survival. Initially, this shift is unsettling. You might still glance at your notifications for engagement, but the high is gone. You might still hear praise, but its absence no longer wounds you. Gradually, and sometimes with difficulty, the dependency fades, and in its place grows what Jung identified as inner authority, a conviction of your own value that is independent of external opinion. What makes this so transformative is that validation doesn't just lose its power. It ceases to be a factor in your self-perception. You no longer use relationships as mirrors to see a reflection of your worth. You start to engage in them as genuine exchanges. Instead of wondering, what do they think of me? The question becomes, is this connection real? And when that happens, even silence or disapproval loses its sting, because your right to exist is no longer open for debate. 2. The drive for distinction. Linked closely to validation is the compulsion to be special. In the early stages, many on a spiritual path can experience what Jung termed inflation, the idea that their awakening sets them apart, making them superior or chosen. But with time, that very identity becomes a cage. The ego demands to be extraordinary, while the soul yearns for authenticity. As you awaken further, the need to demonstrate your uniqueness subsides. You no longer feel compelled to broadcast your spiritual insights or to frame yourself as more evolved than anyone else. You understand that true individuality requires no marketing. In a paradox, the less you strive to be special, the more your unique essence radiates. It is the contrast between a rose that opens to an audience and a rose that opens because opening is its nature. When you abandon the draining quest for specialness, you access something more profound. Individuality without ego, uniqueness without self-importance. Jung observed that the need to be special is often rooted in a fear of being ordinary. Yet, ordinariness, when fully inhabited, reveals its own extraordinary quality. In releasing the need for distinction, people find a deeper connection to life itself. They no longer need to be above the crowd because they start to recognize the divine spark expressing itself in every person, every journey, every simple moment. True uniqueness isn't found in comparison. It's found in presence. 3. The performance of positivity. Possibly the most radical shift occurs when you stop performing happiness. An awakening isn't about constant positivity. It's about unwavering honesty with oneself. And that honesty encompasses both light and shadow, certainty and doubt, joy and pain. Our modern world, and particularly spiritual subcultures, often pressure us to stay positive, to smile when we're hurting, to project an image of enlightenment amid our struggles. Jung called this a persona, a mask of falsehood. A genuine awakening tears this mask away. You start to give yourself permission to feel grief, to acknowledge confusion, to experience anger without judgment. You stop trying to numb your pain with spiritual platitudes like it is all for the best. Instead, you live the paradox. You can have faith in life while also mourning a loss. You can be a seeker of truth and still admit you are lost. This letting go is frightening initially, but it cultivates a profound authenticity where your inner world and outer life finally match. Releasing false happiness also expands your capacity for compassion. When you stop hiding your own difficulties, you no longer expect others to hide theirs. Your connections transform from a showcase of perfection into a sanctuary of presence. You find that true intimacy is born not from pretending to be whole, but from the courage to share the beautiful mess of being human. In Jungian psychology, this is integrating the shadow. It's the point where even your pain is no longer something to be hidden, but a teacher to be honored. Before we explore the last 2 points, if this video is providing you with some clarity, consider sharing it with someone who you think could benefit. And if you'd like to support what we do, you can use the thanks button below. Now, let's continue. 4. The addiction to knowing. Another profound change is the gradual release of certainty. The intellect craves fixed beliefs, doctrines, and absolute truths. It provides a sense of security to declare, I know my purpose. I know what the universe wants. I know the right path. But an awakening dissolves these rigid structures. As Jung noted, authentic development leads not to more answers, but to a deep peace in uncertainty. The unknown transforms from an enemy to be conquered into a landscape to be explored. You learn to make choices with conviction without needing a guarantee, to hold conflicting ideas without needing to resolve them. At first, this letting go can feel like falling, like the very ground beneath you is disappearing. But gradually, a different kind of resilience is born. You find the liberation in not needing all the answers, the humility in being a student of life, and the tranquility in letting life's mysteries be mysteries. Living without certainty is not the same as living without guidance. Jung highlighted that those who let go of rigid dogmas often develop a more reliable internal guidance system. They stop looking to external authorities for truth and begin to trust their own direct experience. Instead of holding on to a single timeless truth, they learn to trust what is true in this moment. This subtle change turns life into an ongoing conversation with the unknown, dynamic, alive, and ever new. 5. Blame. And now we arrive at the most difficult one, the one that is hardest to release: quitting blame. On the surface, blame seems logical, even righteous. People did hurt us. Systems were unfair. Life has dealt us harsh blows, and blame gives us an identity. It organizes our pain, connects us with others who have similar grievances, and maintains our sense of being the righteous party. But Jung saw that genuine spiritual freedom is impossible while holding on to blame. Holding on to blame is like carrying the keys to your own prison. Slowly, and with great effort, the awakening process dismantles this framework. You start to perceive dynamics instead of villains, your own part in a system instead of pure victimhood. This doesn't mean condoning harmful actions. It doesn't mean forgetting trauma. It means fundamentally changing your relationship to it. You see that as long as you make others the sole authors of your story, you give them power over you. When you quit blame, you become the sovereign of your own life. The past doesn't disappear, but its power over you does. The scars are still there, but they transform from markers of victimhood into sources of strength. What arises after blame is not inaction, but true agency. Jung believed that when we cease to define ourselves as victims, we awaken to a more profound sense of responsibility. This is the understanding that even our deepest wounds can be a catalyst for growth. By quitting blame, you don't rewrite history. You change its meaning. You begin to see painful experiences not as a sentence, but as a crucible for growth. This shift allows you to move forward not with resentment, but with the deep, quiet power of someone who understands that nothing, not even suffering, can define them. Awakening is not a process of accumulation, it's a process of subtraction. When you quit validation, you find self-worth. When you quit specialness, you find authenticity. When you quit performing happiness, you find real joy. When you quit certainty, you learn to trust life. And when you quit blame, you become free. This is the slow, sometimes challenging, but always liberating dissolution that Jung described, the end of the false self and the emergence of the real one. If this path resonates with you, join us at Code Psychology.